Okay, good afternoon, class. This is your instructor, Nikki Rozier, for DES 103, and today is November the 11th. Happy Veterans Day to those who have served and are serving. And this is the first part to our live session on today. And I'll go over some housekeeping items and we'll get started. Just as a reminder, this is just the first part, so this will be an hour long. And then the second part will still be tonight around 5:30 Mountain Standard Time as well. So remember, if you do need to reach me, you can reach me by office or cell. My office number is 801-290-3240, extension 625, and my cell is 770-580-39, I'm sorry, 0936. And when you do reach me, make sure that you state your name and what class you're in. Be mindful I'm on Eastern Standard Time. So probably after 9 p.m., normally my phone will go on Do Not Disturb, and I'll reply tomorrow if I'm not up. If you do call, please leave a message so I know who you are if I don't answer. So let's talk about the agenda for this live session. I'm going to do a week 2 recap, some things I did see on the assignment, and we'll talk about the discussion posts and the missed points that I do see. A lot of students from both classes that I'm teaching in the DES 103 missing, and it's very simple things that you can go to and fix. After that, we'll go over our week 3 discussion, assignment, assessment, and we'll start on the assignment walkthrough. And then on the next part of the live session, I'll finish it up and do the assessment part. The assignment and the assessment this week are both assignments. You have to do an Illustrator, so you don't have a quiz this week. They're both assignments. The assessment is pretty quick to do, and I'll show you how to do that on the 5:30 live session. I do want to make a reminder that all assignments are due at Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Let me know if you're going to be late, either by calling, texting me, or emailing me. And do remember that we only allow the discussion posts to be open 1 week after the deadline. The same thing with your assignments as well. So at this point, if you haven't turned in your week 1 assignment or discussion, it is now closed. That does not exclude you from, that does not include, your resubmissions. So for those who are still trying to get resubmissions in, which I'll put in the announcement section, you can definitely still do that. You'll just have to email me and let me know. We are going over the assignment in this session, but it will roll over into the second session because of how long it normally takes for me to trace things. So with the week 4 assignments, do remember that they cannot be turned in late. So for those who are still trying to turn in late work, week 1 is now closed, focus on week 2, and then get on to week 3 as well, okay? So let me talk about really quick before I jump into some other things here, what I'm seeing in your discussion posts. So I'll normally only give maybe 4 types of grades, and 40 points seems to be the grade for some. If you receive 40 points from me for your discussion, you only did the prompt or answered the post, you didn't reply to any students. So that's about a 20-point difference that you're missing out on. And you get the 20 points from, from missing the 2 student posts, and then you're missing points for not posting on 2 separate days. So you only get 40 out of 60. So if you receive the 40 on your discussion, this is why. So if I leave that comment under your discussion, make sure to go back and do your student replies. It will still be marked late, but you'll probably get more of a 56 versus a 40, which is better as far as your grade. Now, if you get anything like a 41 to 55, normally your post is late, so it's automatically taken off late post points. And then either you're missing the student reply, like you did 1 reply, but you're missing another one. And then some of the points are being taken off for not meeting your 150 word mark with your initial post. If you get a solid grade of 56, you're posting everything on the same day. So to get the extra 4 points, make sure that you're going into your discussion post on 2 different days. The full points you can get for discussions are 60. So hopefully by breaking this down during this live session, and I'll post this in the announcement as well, you can see where you're missing points so you don't continue to do this in the weeks to come. Again, you still have time to go in and do your week 2 discussion and close this out at the end of this week. So if you need to make any adjustments, you can do that. Like I said, it's better to get a 56 versus a 40 or 41 through 55. We want to aim to getting 64 points. These are very simple points that you can get, but I'm seeing a lot of students missing the mark in this area. And I wanted to make a slide to address what you're missing if you happen to get that grade. Now, if you get something, I would say below a 40, 9 times out of 10, that's because you didn't reply to the initial post. Like if you only do 2 student replies, that will get you something, you know, around the 30 range. Or if you just did the initial reply and maybe didn't put 150 words, that can get you below a 30 to answer that question if any of you have that. So I wanted to do that breakdown. Again, the goal is to get 60 points, but if you got any one of these, this is normally why I mark it down. I do put it in the comments, but I wanted to make a post or a slide about it so you guys will know in the future, not just with this course, but in future courses, so you're not constantly missing points, okay? Just to put this in perspective, I had one student last mod who, if they would have did all the discussion, would have passed the course. So just imagine, you know, not making the grade because you didn't do your discussion. So I just want you to be aware of that because these points do matter when it comes to the end game in week 4. Now remember that all assignments are due at Saturday, and please contact me before the deadline and we can make arrangements. After the deadline, it's just that. Your work will be penalized for being late. I do want to remind you that you do have a chance to do resubmissions, okay? With your resubmissions, I do encourage it. For week 1, if you have a resubmissions or some edits that you're still trying to do, that is fine. You're not going to be able to do it or submit it now, but you can send it in to me via email and I'll be able to check it for you. So don't think you still can't do your week 1 resubmissions. If you have a resubmission, just send it by email. For week 2, make sure you go back in and do your resubmissions if I left comments about that. I've graded everything for each section, so your grades are in. I just will have to go back and do the comments a little bit later this evening, so you should have your comments. Most of you have it for your week 1 assignment. I think the only comments that are missing is just for your quiz. So make sure you go in and do your resubmission, okay? Let me go ahead and hop out of the slides really quick. I want to go over some things that I did see in the week 1 assignment. I'm going to pause the share and I'm going to try to pull up my week 1 assignment to just show some things that I did see that was, I won't say a problem, or maybe just some things that maybe were overlooked in your week 1 assignment for your submission, okay? So let me resume my share and I'm going to make sure that it's sharing. Yeah, it is still sharing my screen here. All right. So let's talk about the first artboard. And again, this is just a week 2 recap of things that I saw that were some challenging areas for some students, okay? One thing I did see is that some people didn't complete the artboard, and I know during the live session I don't complete all of it because I tried to cover the most important parts, but I did stress to you to make sure that you complete it on yours. So make sure you go back and complete all of them. Another thing that I did see in the week 2 artboard 1 is that a lot of you maybe had your filled in for this artboard, which if that's the case and you go into the pencil tool and you're trying to like trace something, what's going to happen is going to turn it into white. So once you're done like tracing it, it's going to, you know, have a fill of white. And I'm just going to do this one really quick so you can see what I'm talking about here. Might not be the neatest, but I'm just trying to draw this one really quick. When you're tracing it, And when you're done, you should still be able to see some of the line. It should just be like an outline or whatever it is. So this is how it should look. Definitely not that bumpy, but like I said, I just did it really quick. And this is how it shows on some of your screens. Like you just see sort of this white, you know, outline here. You can sort of see where the fish is, how it's just white there because I can't see the lines there. Make sure that if I left your comment under that, let me, hold on, get my screen right here, trying to reset it. There we go. Got it. Make sure that your fill down here is X'd out, okay? Now, another thing that I did see is that some of you are not using your pencil tool. And the instructions do say use your pencil tool. Some of you use the pen tool. And let me tell you how I personally can tell the difference if you use the pen tool or the pencil tool, and how you can tell the difference if someone on an assignment or even in a future project uses the pen tool versus the pencil tool. I'm just going to, for the sake of this, just do this circle around this eye with the pen tool, okay? It's not the best circle, and I really should be doing a little bit more with the handles, but. So this is my circle that I drew with the pen tool. One of the things that you can tell between the pen tool and the pencil tool is how things are, how they look in the direct selection tool. So if I click here, or even on the circle here, you see I have these anchors here. And then if I click here, most of it is just anchor points. If I click on something here, on an anchor, you sort of have the ability to like change the curve here. You have more anchor points if it's a circle. Let me see if I can point this out a little bit better. Your pencil tool only has just anchors because they're mostly corners and they're mostly straight lines. Your pen tool has more so anchors and handles versus the pencil tool. So that's how you can really tell if you're using the pen tool or the pencil tool in this. Most of your lines when you use the pen tool, if you were to trace this using the pen tool, are going to be very curved with this. Like you can still draw it, but you know, it's going to be more curved around the edges than it would be if you're drawing with the pencil tool. And sometimes, like I said, the handles will appear more with the pen tool than they do with the pencil tool, because normally with the pencil tool, you're going to have more straight lines, okay? So make sure that you're using the correct tool for it. Let me see. And I know the pen tool is easier for this particular assignment, but please, please, please use the correct tool when asked for this assignment. I'm going to close this out. So you can sort of see it's more curved than this one. And you can, when I click on the direct selection tool, you see how different this looks compared to this one. You have more options for more curved corners when I go to the direct selection tool versus here I don't. So there is a difference when you click on a direct selection tool with something being drawn from the pencil tool versus the pen tool. Even sometimes in the selection tool, when you click on it, you'll sometimes, what's it, the selection tool? Sorry, the direct selection tool. Depending on what area you click on, you sort of get these curved angles. It was something I clicked on that showed all of them earlier. But if I click here, you don't have that option that shows all of them. So be very careful when you're using, there we go. You see I have all the curves here. And I used the backspace, I believe, and I don't have them here. So be very careful that you're using the right tool for the assignment, okay? I'm going to delete this. That's one thing I did see. On the second one, using the pen tool, I saw a lot of the first and the second one with the star and the circle not being closed. These two shapes should be closed, so make sure that you're going back and closing it. And just to show you what a closed shape looks like with the pen tool, I'm just going to draw a free shape here. You know when it's closed when you get this little O or the little zero there right before you close the shape and you know that it's closed, okay? So make sure that you are closing these first two. And with the lines, like I said, make sure you get them as close as possible here, okay? One thing I did see here too is the way that you're saving your files. I did get a few PDFs when the submissions came in. Do not save this as a PDF because I need to go in and see that you've actually used the appropriate tools. I can only grade so much with the PDF. So the way that you save this is you go to File and you save as, and you go to Adobe Illustrator and make sure it says Adobe Illustrator, nothing else. Now, when you click on Save, and I click on Yes, I want to replace it, you're going to have a Illustrator option. Don't just uncheck this to create a PDF compatible file. And I believe this happened because of the Illustrator 2020 update. So if you are using Illustrator 2020, I think it updated earlier in the week for some of you. I know I got the update around Wednesday or Thursday. So this happened to you. And even if you had the PDF, and let's just play devil's advocate here, devil's advocate. Even if you had this PDF file here and I clicked OK and I saved it, you should still be able to go back into your week 2 folder and determine it's still saved. Let me go back to the screen. Make sure. You see, I have this week 2 folder here. Hold on. Did it save it? This is my assignment here in Adobe Illustrator, and it should have saved one as a PDF. It's probably going to pop up in one of these screens here. I don't know. I have to look and see. But once it's done saving as a PDF, it'll show as a PDF file. But even if that's the case, make sure that you're showing your Adobe Illustrator file here, and that's the one that you're submitting. Do not submit the PDF, okay? If it's going to confuse you, just make sure just to go into save it as whatever you want to save it as, and then just uncheck that box here, create PDF compatible file, and you should be good, okay? I saw a couple of PDF files, and when I saw that, I immediately thought it was the Illustrator 2020 update. And I know there may be some posts about that going on in the GAC, so make sure that you are reading it. And if you're in the Facebook group, I think Shannon talked about it as well. Let me go into the butterfly. A lot of you did not do the paragraph. Make sure you do your paragraph. You can either type it here in the file, your 50-word paragraph. If you want to, if I've already graded it, you can go back into the comment section and place that 50-word paragraph in the comment section. I just need to have that as part of your assignment. There are questions that I did have about how to color in your artwork after you've drawn it. Again, if you're tracing something here in Illustrator, you need to go and color it. Make sure you're in your selection tool. Click on the object here and go to your color palette. For me, if I want to color this like a lighter pink, just for example, I'll choose that. So you're changing the color of the fill, and if you want, you can get rid of the actual tracing itself. It's just a matter of clicking the color. Again, like we did in the live session, if it's something that you're trying to change like every color for, I would hold down the Shift key and select the shapes that I want to change the color for. Like if you've already did the left side and you want to change the color for the right side, hold down your Shift key, select everything that you want to change the color of, and this is just a quick way to do it. Go to this eyedropper tool and select one of the shapes, and it automatically changes the color here for you as well, okay? So those are just a couple of things that I did see in your assignment itself. A lot of you actually drew the butterfly, but you didn't color it in. So hopefully that little demonstration that I just did by going to the fill option in the color panel will assist you in coloring in your butterfly, okay? But mostly for this third art board, I think the biggest thing that I saw that was missing is a lot of you did a great job on your butterflies. Really pretty butterflies, and I love the colors and the gradient tools that was used on some of them, but you didn't state what type of tools you used. So make sure that you go back and enter that 50-word paragraph. I think if you didn't do it, then you got a 105, maybe out of 120, because it was worth 15 points, okay? So I just want to go over really quick the errors or some of the challenges that I saw in the week 2 assignment. To recap on this, again, make sure you're following the instructions for both Artboard 1 and 2. If it says use the pencil tool, use the pencil tool. If it says use the pen tool, use the pen tool. For Artboards 1 and 2, you must complete all shapes. Do not skip any. For Artboard 2, make sure you're closing the 2 shapes that are the star and the circle. Don't leave it just hanging or halfway done, okay? And again, for your butterfly, make sure you are typing that paragraph. Make sure you do color it in. Even if your butterfly is black and white, color, I don't want to just see a tracing. I'm okay with it being black and white, but I don't want it to be just the outline of the tracing. What I mean by that is if I look at your wings, let me show you what I mean. If you submitted an assignment and all I see is just like the tracing of your wings and everything's just like outlined and I don't see any colors here, then it's not colored in. You just did the outlines. And it does tell you have fun coloring it in. So even if you simply just did a black and white butterfly, you got the points. But I don't want to see just the outline, okay? I want you to color it in with at least something, all right? So that is my feedback for your week 2 assignment. Before I move on to what we're going to do for week 3 and get started with our week 3 assignment, are there any questions or concerns over week 2? I'm going to save this just in case. Okay, great. So let me go ahead and save this. Let me jump into what we have to do for week 3. So this is our week 3 overview. What we're going to be doing this week, we're going to be working on templates again. And this week we're going to work on templates and actually talk about templates. And this discussion is one of my favorite discussions because it's a very in-depth discussion that sort of challenges you. And I'll ask some questions to give you some insight from my personal experience in the career field. I'll talk about that probably on Wednesday, where we actually had an issue with a template that wasn't purchased from an old graphic design years ago, way before I started working for the health department that I work for. So I will talk about template and plagiarism and things of that nature and get into it later in this week. But this week, we're going to be using a template layer again, similar to what we used in week 2. And then we're going to learn a little bit more about layer organization. I'll talk about that in today's live session. And we'll talk about how to use the type tool to generate and edit text. That's what your assessment is going to be focused on. And we'll talk about how to manipulate fields and outlines with Illustrator through your assessment as well, okay? So we do have a video called with a Positive Attitude. I do recommend that you sort of view it. It's a good refresher for week 3. And the quote for this week says, digital design is like painting, except the paint never dries, which is so true. It's a constant change with digital design. The paint doesn't dry, means that it, it can go on and on, it can have different interpretations, and you can continue to add on to it as well. I want to go through what you have to do for your course media. And I want to address some things as far as where the live sessions are as well, because I think there's some confusion between course media and the live session. So when you go to like your week 3, let me go back to week 3 overview. Let me show you how I got there. My screen may look a little different because I'm not in student view. So let me switch to student view so you can see exactly what you should see on your screen. Okay. So when you go to week 3, normally I click on week 3, and it shows everything you have here. You have your course media, your discussion, your assignment, and your assessment. When you click on course media, and I'll go here and close the rest of these out so they all could be in student view. You have these lists of lynda.com videos, which do help you with the course. So for week 3, you have the one that talks about the appearance panel, working with type, and wrapping type around a circle. Make sure you go over those course media. They do help you and give you a little bit more insight that you really don't get with the live session. But do remember that you do have a pre-recorded session And you have an area where I post the live session links as well outside of the course media. So if you do go to your home screen and you click on live sessions, you should see every recording for your live session. You always have a pre-recorded session. Make sure for this week you watch your pre-recorded session because it does go over templates, gradients, and typography. That'll help you a lot when you do your week 3 assignment when it comes to putting everything together that you traced, okay? You actually have 2 recordings. They broke them up into 2. When I am done with, let's see, that's week 2, week 3. When I am done with my lecture, I post these under the lecture 2 instructor-led live session. I wanted to make sure you guys understood where they are, okay? If you don't go here, if you are an announcement person, they are posted in the announcements. Now for my DES 1034, it will look like week 2 live session recordings. That's when I post it. I think for section 4, you have Shannon in your course who posts the week 2 PC Mac demos. That sort of helps those that are on the Mac since I'm on the PC. My session 5 or my section 5, you get those same posts as well because I do want you to see how it's done on the PC. But instead of Shannon posting them, I post them, okay? So you do have 2 options where you can view your live lecture. So don't ever think they're not posted. They're either in the announcement or the live lecture section, okay? Let me go to our week 3 discussion, and I want to talk about what we're going to be discussing this week. It talks about plagiarism and using templates. And it gives you 3 scenarios about it. So with designer A, they were inspired by a photo of a flower that they saw in a magazine and created a sketch based on one of the flowers in the photo. The designer scanned the sketch and then utilized it in a template layer to create an icon to be used for part of a logo. The second scenario said that the designer found a dragon file on the internet, dragged it to the desktop, created a template layer for an Illustrator, and used the image to gauge the proportion overall shape of the dragonfly, but simplified it quite a bit. In fact, the final image was nothing like the original. And then designer C found the image almost exactly what they wanted for the logo, downloaded it, traced it, and changed the line of check. So you have 3 scenarios. All 3 use a photo for inspiration in their final artwork. And it asks you 3 questions. Which, if any, will be considered plagiarism and why? Which will be considered acceptable ways to utilize a template and why? And then based on your research, do you think using a template within Illustrator is a good idea? Why or why not? If you find links, make sure you put your citations there. And again, you have your reply requirements. And this is what I was talking about with the 40, 50, 56, and 60. Grade points that I do give for your grades for discussion. Make sure that you comment. Your answer has to be at least 150 words. Put your citation and references there. You have to have 2 follow-up posts of 50 plus words. Responses can be addressed to both your initial thread or other threads, but you have to put it in your own words, okay? And make sure you put those responses into the post on 2 separate days, okay? Yeah, if you did more, that's fine. But make sure that you at least do 150, okay? Now, one thing I want you to notice, and this is for everything in this course, you always have samples. So if you're lost on a discussion post, please make sure to look at the samples. Do not copy and paste the samples. I'm okay with you using the links for the samples if that gives you some good ideas, like the references that they use. Anybody can use the references, but make sure you put them in your own words, okay? One thing I do want you to think about too to sort of help you with your post, if you think about Adobe Illustrator and the things that we have here, when we go into the File, New Dialog window, we actually do have templates that we use here. So, maybe explore those templates, if you want to get in depth with your actual discussion posts and see what you can discover with these templates. But Adobe does provide you with templates. These templates are free. And if you're using these templates, is that considered plagiarism if they're free? There are some things that you definitely have to consider with this discussion. So please dive into it. I think as a designer, it's one of the most important discussions that you have, because believe it or not, a lot of designers sometimes do use templates. A lot of the free resources that we have out here. Stock.adobe.com is one of them. It's not just for pictures, you can use templates as well. So if you're using them, is that plagiarism? Those are the type of things you want to consider and try to research for your post, okay? Let's talk about what you have to do for your week 3 assignment and for your week 3 assessment. So week 3 assignment, you are going to be drawing for a template, and it's worth 120 points, okay? And with this assignment, we'll talk about your layer hierarchy and how it works. We'll talk about layers and sub-layers and why it's going to be very important that you sort of get this down pat with your week 3 assignment. It's a good practice for you when you do this. We're going to be talking about a little about color in Illustrator too as well, and I'll show you a little bit about that in the assignment too. I'll talk a little bit about the swatches panel and patterns as well. I'll show you how to create a pattern. For this assignment, you're going to create a cartoon of yourself. So you have 2 templates here. The male template looks like this. So if you download the male one, is here. And the female template looks like this, okay? So here's what I tell people too. If you see a hair on one of the templates that resemble your hair, you can download either one of them and take the pieces of the template here, okay? I'm going to be using the female template, and I'll show you how to trace it, but same thing will apply with the male. With your templates, you have eyes, brows, lip, nose, head, and skin type and hairstyle. You'll need to trace one option from each. Jamie said, oh boy. So when you draw this, remember that you are going to be using the tools that you've learned so far. So let's recap. We've used the shape tools, like your ellipse, your rectangle tool, you modify those. There are some areas where that may come into hand, in handy. The pen tool, for those who are comfortable using the pen tool, use the pen tool, the pencil tool, your curvature tool. I will say your curvature tool will work really good with this as well, especially with some of the hairs that are really big and curly. I recommend you use that. But use what tools you are comfortable with for this assignment. And don't just limit yourself. If you feel like you can use one versus the other, there are some cases where you can do that, okay? Use a combination of it, and I think you'll come out with better results if you do that, okay? For this assignment, you're going to create 2 8x5 by 11 artboards. One is going to have this template layer, and then the other one's going to have your drawing. You're going to trace the different face elements, and then on the second artboard, combine the elements to create your cartoon face, okay? What I need to see when you trace them, keep one copy of the tracing on the template, and copy and paste the other one onto the final. You are going to resize your face to fit nicely on the artboard. I will say when you resize, depending on if you use a combination of tools, you may have to go back and modify those. So you'll see me do that in this assignment, okay? And you may customize the drawing to better match your features. So if you're just using this as a base and you're like, oh, this look at my hair, it's a different color, modify it to make it look like however you want it to do. This part, draw some shoulders and the collar for the top of the shirt, incorporate colors and patterns, add a background. These are the 3 that I see a lot of students miss, so make sure you do those last 3. I know you get happy that you finally have a face structure, but make sure that you do your last 3, okay? You will have to submit this as an AI file for grading, so do not submit this as a PDF. Do not submit it as anything other than an AI file. You know, Jamie, to answer your question about antique men, they don't, but they do have some seasoned beards. If you want to try that, you can, you know, if you want to put, you know, antique lines on your face, you can, but make it your own. Try to make it as close as possible. Like, I don't even see my hairstyle in here. It's a combination of this one, and this one. But normally I like using the curly one because I used to have curly hair before I cut all of mine off. So that's what we're going to use today. But what if you look like Well, I will hope that's not the final artwork, Jamie. Try to not make yourself look like you're set on fire, okay? That reminds me of the elbow meme that's on Instagram or Facebook right now, where he's, looking like he's just in front of a fire. We do not want to see any Elmo memes. So, with that being said, let me show you some samples so you can see how some students have modified their drawing to sort of fit them if it comes up. But definitely no fire. Every time I think about that, I think about the Elmo meme. So this is what I mean by keeping your tracing on the main, the template. You're going to create a template layer like you did with the cat or the chick or the bear, whichever one you drew for week 1. Okay, and you're going to create your template layer the same way. Now, you take the tracings, and I want you to notice how some of these are not, colored in. This one's colored in. You see the eyebrows really not, and the nose is not colored in. You can take the tracings and then color them in when you go to the main artboard. Let me sort of zoom out here so you can see this a little better. So you see the eyes, the brows, the nose, the mouth, the head shape, and the hair. They took this, they created their own pattern for their background, and they created this image here of themselves. That's a self-portrait. For the males, I do have an example for that as well. This person doesn't have, like it says in the comments, it doesn't have any eyebrows. And I don't think they missed out on the eyebrows. I just think that when they did the copy and paste, they didn't copy and paste, just took the actual eyebrows and didn't leave them here. So this is what I mean. Make sure you leave a copy of whatever you traced on your template layer. And then this is the final artboard. Of course, they went with bald, and then they did the beard, the eye, they added an earring here, and they use a lot of like gradients and shadows here for their texture, which I thought was pretty cool. They use a gradient for this eye as well, which you can use as well. So like I said, play around with colors, play around with gradients. Make sure you do watch your pre-recorded lecture. It goes over that just a little bit, how to play with the colors and gradients and the layers as well. But this is just an example of what your final artwork should be. So not only will you have these facial features, but you need a background and you need a shirt, some type of collar, okay? So that is what you have to do for your week 1 assignment. Yes, you can make any hats if you want to do that. I had a student add a hat, scarf, jewelry, whatever is going to make it stand out and make it more unique. You can add as much as you can. I even have students add tattoos to the detail. So if that's what you decide to do, that's totally fine. Make it look like you as much as possible, okay? If you feel challenged and daring, add hats. For my students that like, okay, I'm still trying to get the hang of this, Miss Rozier, then just, stick with the basics and just go with what you got, okay? So let me go over what we have to do for the week 3 assessment, and I'll start the actual drawing for week 3 assignment. So for your assessment, you're gonna do text and Illustrator. You're gonna create 3 artboards for the assessment. They're gonna be 4 by 2. The first one, you're gonna find a font. And you're going to type your name, your first name, your last name, your nickname, as long as it's appropriate. Choose a font that feels like your personality. Place all of them on the artboard. Copy and type the paste on the second artboard and the third artboard. On artboards 2 and 3, you're going to create outlines. And then on the third one, you're going to change the text so it doesn't look like the original text. So you're actually going to create what we call a name logo. And then you submit that as an AI file. And just to show you some examples of how your week 3 assessment should look, this person used this cursive font. Their name is Caroline, and they created a outline. So when you do the outline, you won't be able to tell the difference here in PDF, but I'll show you in the second live session how you can tell whether it's an outline or not. But you see on the third one, they completely changed it because they were able to change this text as outline. Which creates like separate letters for each one, separate letter vectors is what I call them, to create this custom name. Let's go look at another one. And this is Michael. You see it looks the same here. And actually they changed this one. So maybe what I'm thinking, is when to save as a PDF, which does happen a lot. And if you ever downloaded templates of like posters or something and you don't have the font on your computer, and this assessment teaches you how to do that. Sometimes when you get stuff from other people, you don't have the fonts on your computer. Well, in order for you to keep the way that the fonts look, you're going to have to change them to outline. So at first, because you don't have the font on your computer, I am going to see this. My computer would change it into whatever font that it can sort of make it close to. But this is the actual font that the student chose. And I'm able to see it, and you're able to see it because they changed these into outlines, and then they went and changed like the size of them. So in the second live session, it'll make a little bit more sense on what I mean when I say create them in outlines and why it looks like that, okay? So for now, let me go back into Illustrator. I'm going to show you how to start your week 1 assignment. So for your week 1 assignment, we're going to set up this particular space. And let me start from the beginning here. So I'll close this out. I'm not going to save it. But I am going to go to my new dialog screen. So once I'm there, I'm going to click on Create New. And then I'm going to go to Letter. And I'm going to choose 8.5 by 11. And normally when I go to Letter, sometimes if it's not already in inches, like if it's in points, make sure to change it to inches. And then make sure that you have your artboard set to 2. So if it's that 1 or 3, just change it to 2 and then click on Create, okay? When you create it, you're going to get 2 artboards here, all right? I'm going to go back to the week 3 assignment. I'm going to download the female template by clicking here. Once I download the female template, you can do a file place. Sometimes what I like to do is just take this image that downloads here because I'm on the PC and drag it into, that's the male. We're not doing that one. Let me get the right one, the female. And drag it into my Illustrator file here, okay? Now I wouldn't resize it. You can if you choose, but I'm gonna leave it the same size, okay? Now I'm gonna go to my layers panel. Since it's already on layer 1, I'm gonna double click on it and call this template. I'm going to double click on it again and click the template layer so it's sort of faded, okay? So that's the first step here, is to make this image a template layer. The next thing I'm going to do is to create a layer here called tracing. And I'm going to use sub-layers to sort of name some of the things that I'm doing here, okay? So I'm going to create a layer called tracing. I just click on this new layer panel, I'm going to double click it here and call it tracing, okay? You can name it whatever you want, but I'm just going to call it tracing. The first thing I'm going to trace is my head shape, and I'm going to work my way around, okay? So I'm going to make a layer in here that's called head, and I'm going to use my sub-layer under here, and I'm going to call it head, okay? For this tracing, I am going to use a combination of maybe the pencil tool and the curvature tool for my head. So out of all of these, I feel like this shape sort of more represents my, my face. So first things first, I'm going to go to my curvature tool, and I want to double check in my layers panel that I'm on this panel because I want everything I'm doing to go into this layer, okay? I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to change my stroke, just, hold on, make it go down just a little bit. And I'm going to start at the top up here. So one thing I want you to be aware of, because there's pixelation when you trace it, the more you zoom in, the more pixelation you choose. So what I like to do is to try to zoom in to a point where if I decide that I want to trace it, that I don't see too much pixelation because I don't want it to, I don't want to trace the wrong lines. So what you're seeing here, which I should have checked, is my fill. So let me go back and turn off my fill and start over. I can go back and fill it in later. So let's start this over again. I'm using the curvature tool, and I'm just simply tracing the head that I think works best for me. So I'm gonna go here. And like I said, it's pixelated, so try to get it, you know, as close as you can. You can go back and sort of change the curves and modify them as much as you can. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and modify that ear just a little bit more. I see it now. All right. So that's the top part, the tracing of the head. And again, if I, you know, want to, I can go in and sort of, you know, change some of the curves and make them look a little better if I, you know, choose to. So you can do your tracing, but again, go in and modify and clean it up as much as you want. I am going to probably use the same tool here to sort of create the neck as well. I'm going to start right below. Actually, I'm using the pen tool, so let me just use that. So I'm using a combination of the pen tool here and the curvature tool. So again, you can use whatever tool that you feel comfortable with. Actually, I just chose the pen tool by accident, to be honest with you, but I mean, it still works. So whichever tool that you feel more comfortable drawing the face with. I don't want to connect it, which you can. You can always connect it to here, but I like to keep my two separate tools separate so I can modify them and then I can go in and sort of extend them from there, okay? So again, you can use your direct selection tool and sort of change how the curves look. You know, if you want to go back and connect them to each other, you can. It's just really up to you what you decide to do with your drawing. But this is my head. I'm going to keep it that way, move up a little bit. Or if you want, you can sort of wait until you get to the final part. I'm gonna keep that there. Move you in just a little. So again, just going in and sort of, editing your shapes here. And again, if you trace either under or over, which may happen again, because like I said, this is very pixelated, so you can get it, as close as to your liking as possible. And it doesn't have to be like spot on, but just close to it. Because again, some of these you might have to go in and modify because it might not be exactly the correct facial feature for you. So be mindful of that as well. So let's move this curve over here. Curve you in a little here. Pull you up just a little bit here. And I'll go in and fix this one as well. Curve you in. Maybe I need to bring you out a little bit more. Bring you up here. So I'll go in and clean that up a little bit, but it has a little bit better shape than it did before. So that's the head. And again, I'm going to work up. You can choose any mouth that you want. This time I'm going to choose, I always either choose one of these. I'm going to try the one with the teeth here. So going back to my layers panel, let's talk about hierarchy of layers. So I don't want my neck layer to be over my head layer. So I'm going to put this part up here. So when I modify it, or if there's like any type of coloring that goes on. I don't have the head color on top of the, the neck on top of the head. So this is what I mean by layer hierarchy. Make sure it's in the right order that you want it to be. And instead of going to file arrange, it's just easier for you to go into your layer or sublayer and just move them around as you want. Now back into tracing layer, I'm going to go ahead and make another sublayer. I'm going to call this my mouth. And I'm going to trace first the outline of the lip, and then I'm going to go back and sort of trace the teeth, okay? So for this one, I'm going to use my curvature tool. I think it'll work here. I'm going to leave my outline where it is now. So let me do this. Actually, let me change the point to 0.5. I just want to outline the mouth first. It just seems to make sense to me to do this. Sometimes I do it from the back up, like doing it from the bottom layer up, doing the teeth up. I'm going to do it this way, just to show you a different way of how to do it. So this is the teeth. Let me trace the outside of this mouth here. Trying to get it as straight as I can. Again, like I said, it might be a little difficult because it's pixelated, so it really just depends on how you modify it or how you zoom in. Just try to get it as close as you can. So this is the outside of the mouth. So I have the outside and the inside. If I want, I can maybe use the pencil tool here to sort of draw this line that's here. Let me zoom out and look at the line a little bit. If I want to draw this line that's here, I can do that as well, just to sort of draw that line. So I have my mouth tracing. Once I go in and color it in, then it'll look a little better. And I might go in, once I'm done, fill this in with white and then fill this one in with pink. And I might see how that looks. I might go back in and make another layer for the teeth. So just again, going through and sort of smoothing out my corners just a little bit so it's closer to the line. Using those handles to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to bring this in a little bit, maybe. Sort of clean it up here. Straighten that line up just a little bit. So I'll go back and clean it up just a little bit more. But I'm going to keep this line here, and I might go actually back in and sort of make this line a little thicker. But you see I have my mouth layer and everything else. So I will do, let me see what this one is. I think this one should go on the top. I think this one should go, I'm going to keep this order of this layer here, because even if that layer is gone for the teeth, I believe that line should go on top of it. So I'm just making sure my layer hierarchy is correct. So that's why I'm moving that around. Now for the eyes, I'm going to go back to my tracing and make a sublayer and call it eyes. And I don't know which eyes I have. My eyes are fairly large. So I'm going to do this set right here. I think they're not this big, but they're sort of slanted. So You can use a combination of things for the eyes here. And what I recommend that you do one eye and then just copy and then flip it over. So for the eyes, I'm going to make a sub layer and do the left eye. And then I'm going to make another sub layer actually in the eye layer and do right. Okay, but I'll start on the left eye, and whenever I do, I just flip it and do it for the right eye. Okay, so again, you have different options. Again, you have your ellipse tool that you can use. You have your pencil tool. You have all of that. If you wanted to look like you were winking, you could do a combination. If you want to do one of these eyes and then the one that's closed, I don't know if the male one has it, I would do a combination. So draw one and then draw the other. Just do a left or a right, right? That's what I would do. Let's see. Normally I do this one, and this one is the easiest one where you just do an ellipse one, but I wanted to show you how you can layer different circles here with the ellipse tool to create this look and then do the pencil tool here. So I'm going to use my first ellipse here. Yeah, I see, Jamie. But yeah, you don't have to necessarily use like the exact eye one. But if you did want to do a combination of eyes, you definitely could. Just as long as you have, you know, two. Let's do this ellipse one here. So that would be like my outline ellipse one. If I wanted to go in and sort of change how it looks, I can, you know, points here. I want to create another ellipse here. And I'm going to turn it just a little bit so it can match the brown. Just a little bit here. Match it just a little bit. And then go back down. Put you down just right here. All right, and then I'm going to create a smaller circle to sort of represent this white color that's here. Sort of like the little twinkle in the eye, I guess. And because my stroke is so big, it looks like it's, oh, I need to do that. I think I'm okay with that. And I'll keep it like that, and I'll probably go back in and color it in so you can see how it looks. This one I am going to color in so it looks better. And then I'm going to create the lid here. And I'm just showing you that you can use a combination of things. You don't necessarily have to always use your pen tool or your ellipse tool here. So I'm just going to bend this down here. Sort of change the curve a little bit. So now I have an ellipse tool sort of for the lid here. And then if I want, I can create again, I'm going to use the pen tool. I'm going to change my stroke a little bit. I'm just going to start here and then add the lash. So sort of curve it. Remember, if you're using the pen tool and you're not closing it, make sure you press the escape key and it'll end the drawing. One of the things that I will say about using this pen tool, make sure your stroke is big enough to cover that area that you're trying to do for like the lash or the eyelid, whichever one you're trying to do. Then I can go back in and sort of modify it just a little more here. Let's lift it up a little bit. Sorry, that was my alarm. We're almost at the end. I'm gonna modify this to go down just a little bit. So I have my lid, and then you can go in and sort of stretch just a little bit more so it can be a little bit more on the outside. And then I'm going to draw just like a line here that sort of goes out here for the lash. And you see it's sort of big, so let me fill in the color and then we can go back and add it. So you see you have the basic shape, it just doesn't look like anything until you color it in. So here's my key with coloring in your shapes, and you can go back in and modify it how you wish, for it to look, okay? I will use the eyedropper tool. So I will select the shape first. Like if it's the lid I'm trying to color, then I'll get this lid color over here, color it in. This brown eye shape here, eyedropper tool, color it in. This shape here for like the twinkle or the little pupil part, color it in. And then my shape here, that's supposed to be white for the eye, I'm going to take this and color it in as well. So when you color in your eye, you can sort of see where you are and what you need to change. But you see how it's almost there. It's just a matter of maybe getting this stroke a little bit thinner and making the curve part to it as well. That is what I recommend that you do for your eyes, especially the ones that are sort of closed and you do have some type of lash or whatnot, that you're trying to add here. Okay, so that's just my recommendation for that. And then once you're done doing that, sort of go in and modify the eye itself so that it, sort of fills out that little area here. Then I'll probably go back in with my, X's. Let me go back in and go with my pencil tool. I'm going to exit out of here, go to my pencil tool, take out the fill and add the stroke. And maybe with the pencil tool, make sure I'm on it, sort of with my Alt key, sort of make like this lash that's here, and then go back in and sort of modify it by changing the anchor point so it sort of, matches, this eye. So that's how I would do the eye. And of course, again, you're going to have to go in and modify it when you put it on your face. I'm trying to click on the anchor. Here we go. And then when you're done creating the eye, and it doesn't have to be this color. I'll probably change the shade of the eye, the eyeshadow. You see, I have the left eye here. I would copy it, go to my right eye layer, make sure I'm clicking on it and paste it, right click on it, transform and reflect vertical so you're not creating the same thing over and over again. Only do this when you're happy with whatever, you decide to do with the eye, okay? So that's my recommendation for your eye. Create one and then go back and do the other. I would again go in and sort of change the curves or whatnot for it so it can sort of match it a little bit better. So far I've done the head, the eyes, and the mouth. In the next live session, I am going to do the eyebrows and the nose. I'm going to go ahead and try to start the hair. I know we're over a little bit, but I want to at least start the hair because I think it's best to go from the inside out and then go out on some of the big hairs. I'm going to do this curly one, so I'll show you what I mean there, and then we'll end this live. So I'm going to create a sub-layer, not in the eyes. Let me go back to my tracing layer. I'm going to create a sub-layer, and I'm going to call it hair, okay? I'm going to use my curvature tool for this one because I think it's the best one. I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to go up. But before I do that, let me make sure I'm using the correct settings for my color. No fill and just my stroke, so you can see what I'm tracing. And I'm going to go down to 0.75, okay? This one I would try to go as slow as possible, especially if you see that the hair has a lot of curves and details, like this one. Control Z. Zoom in a little bit more on that one. And I'm sort of, if you're seeing what I'm doing because of the pixelation, I'm sort of really with this one, sort of creating my own bends, trying to get it as close as possible, because sometimes the pixelation on this can really have you a little bit off path. That's why I said, you know, be careful how much you zoom in with your hairs. All right, so now I've done the inside, and then my goal is to go and do the outside of the hairs, okay? So let's do that. I'll go back one. So with the hair, especially for something as big as this, if you're doing curly hair, but anything that's going to be close to the neck or the face, I do recommend that you start from the neck part and do the outside and the inside in. Do it from the inside and then go to the outside. I think it's the easiest way to do it. And I apologize beforehand. The zoo in my house is active. If it's not the dog, it's the birds. If it's not the birds, it's the bunny. So, and for this hair, it's like this, always this like weird piece at the bottom of this one. Sometimes I include it, sometimes I don't. It's really up to you, especially if you decide to do the curly hair. It's just up to you if you decide to do it. So, but I'm gonna close it out here. So now I have my hair here. And then what I would probably do is give it a color and then go back in maybe with the curvature tool again and like do these like curved lines that are here. And I do recommend that you actually do these lines that are in your hair. Even if you don't do the lines that are like given to you for the hair, create your own lines for your hair. I think it'll give it a very interesting look. Give it more detail actually. So just a FYI. Go up here and draw this line. I might connect it to that one. And of course you want to disconnect. That'll be close enough. I'm gonna play with that one just a little bit more. Okay, so I'm gonna press escape here. When I get back, or when we do the second part, I'm gonna finish the lines in the hair and color it. Then we'll do the nose and the eyebrows, and we'll work on putting everything here on the second part, which will be your final artwork for your self-portrait, okay? You said that's okay, my zoo is too. Yeah, my son is actually in school. If they were off, then that would be another issue. So, but this is where we are so far. Key points here that I do want you to remember before we start this live and resume it at 5:30. Use tools that you're comfortable with. You know, when you're working with things, it looks like it has multiple layers. Keep that in mind. I'm trying to combine the tools as much as possible, work from the inside out or the outside in. But the key thing here, which is in your pre-recorded lecture as well, is going to be your layering and your sub-layering. Again, like for the head, you have the head and then the neck, and then how I layered the mouth, and then the parts of the eye. You want to make sure that everything's in order. So for example, if I want, let me see what this is. Like this eyelid, I want it over under like this part, making sure that the circle for the eye here is over the pupil, which is actually in the eyeball. Those type of things, making sure your layering is on point is going to be key here as well. That way, when you copy and paste it, you can already have that layer hierarchy going on for your design as well, okay? So before we end this live session and resume at 5:30, are there any questions so far about how to start your week 1 assignment? Well, not week 1, I'm sorry, week 3. All right, so again, what we are going to do. Okay, great. So again, if you have any questions, reach out to me and let me know. And when we start back, I'll finish my face and show you how to do the background and some patterns on tonight's live session. And we'll finish up week 3's assessment as well, okay? Have a great day, and I'll see you this evening.